Ron puffed on his pipe. The scent of cherry tobacco filled the living room. Christmas lights twinkled on the tree. Presents were piled high. It was almost too perfect. She was arranging gingerbread men on a plate.
Think Jazz will be home soon?
Ron asked. Their son was driving back from college. He was supposed to arrive before dinner. Mary glanced at the clock.
He should be here any minute. It's not like him to be late.
Just then, the doorbell rang. Ron chuckled. Speak of the devil. But it wasn't Jazz at the door. It was their strange old neighbor, Mr. Henderson. He was wearing a bathrobe and slippers. His eyes were wide with fear. He held out a flash drive.
You have to see this. It's about your son.
Ron took the flash drive with a suspicious look. What's this all about, Mr. Henderson? Mary peered over Ron's shoulder, her brow furrowed with worry.
Is Jazz all right?
Mr. Henderson just shook his head and scurried away without another word. Back in the warmth of the living room, Ron plugged the flash drive into their laptop. A single video file popped up, simply titled Jazz. The video started with static. Then, it showed Jazz's face, clear as day. He was laughing, holding the camera phone towards himself. But then the laughter turned into a snarl. His face contorted, twisting into something inhuman. Sharp teeth sprouted from his gums. His eyes glowed an eerie red. The image on the screen dissolved into static again, leaving Ron and Mary in stunned silence. Ron's hand trembled as he reached for his pipe, needing something to ground him. It's a prank, right? Some kind of sick joke. He muttered, more to himself than to Mary. Mary, however, was already on the phone, her fingers flying across the keypad.
I'm calling Jazz,
she said, her voice tight with anxiety, but the call went straight to voicemail. They replayed the video several times, each viewing more disturbing than the last. The transformation was too real, too gruesome to be faked, but how could it be true? Their Jazz, a monster? The thought was impossible to comprehend.
Maybe it's not Jazz. Maybe Mr. Henderson got it wrong. Maybe it's someone else entirely.
But deep down, a chilling fear gripped them both. What if it was Jazz? What if their son was somehow different? Ron went to the window, peering out into the night. Snow was falling steadily, blanketing the neighborhood in white. He noticed something strange in their driveway. A large, dark shape was moving towards their house. It looked like a fin? Mary, come look at this, Ron whispered, his voice hoarse. Mary joined him at the window. She gasped. A giant dolphin was swimming up their driveway. It stopped in front of their living room window. The dolphin stared at them with large, intelligent eyes. Then, the unthinkable happened. Their house began to shake. The floor tilted beneath their feet. Christmas decorations fell from the walls. The furniture slid across the room. Ron and Mary clung to each other, screaming. The house groaned and creaked, transforming around them. The familiar living room walls disappeared, replaced by cold metallic surfaces. A blinking red light appeared above their heads. A siren wailed.
What's happening?
Mary shrieked, her voice barely audible above the din. Suddenly, the chaos stopped. They were in a dimly lit, cramped space. The air smelled of salt water and something else, something distinctly like pork steaks. A high-pitched giggle echoed through the confined space. Two figures emerged from the shadows. It was those annoying YouTube pranksters, Jake and Logan Paul, grinning at them. Logan held up a hand, filming them with his phone. Jake was holding a plate piled high with raw pork steaks.
Welcome aboard,
Jake said, tossing a marijuana joint into Ron's lap.
We're going on an adventure.
Before Ron or Mary could even process what was happening, a hatch slammed open above them. A figure in full scuba gear dropped into the room. It was their neighbor, Jamie, the creepy kid who always wore a hockey mask. He ripped off his mask, revealing a face contorted in a grotesque grin.
Merry Christmas, suckers. Your son sent me a very special gift. He told me to deliver a message.
He pulled out a walkie-talkie, pressing the speak button. A voice crackled to life, distorted but chillingly familiar.
Happy holidays, Mom and Dad. Hope you enjoy the ride.
Ron lunged for Jamie, but the kid was too quick. He slammed the hatch shut and disappeared. The submarine began to descend, plunging deeper into the darkness. Mary was sobbing uncontrollably. Ron felt a wave of dizziness wash over him. The marijuana smoke was getting to him. Or maybe it was the stress, or the fact that their house was now a submarine, and that their son might be a monster.
Oh my God, Ron, what are we going to do?
Suddenly the doorbell rang. The sound echoed through the submarine, incongruous and impossible. Ron and Mary stared at each other, their eyes wide with disbelief. The doorbell rang again, insistent, demanding. Ron and Mary cautiously approached the metal door that had replaced their living room entrance. Ron hesitated, then pulled the door open. Standing on the other side was Jazz, a sheepish grin on his face. He held up a video game controller.
Sorry I'm late, got caught up in this awesome new VR game. It's wild, you guys gotta try it.
And just like that, everything snapped back to normal. The submarine was gone. They were back in their living room, the Christmas tree twinkling merrily. The only evidence of the bizarre events was the lingering scent of seawater, and pork steaks, and maybe a hint of marijuana. Jazz looked at their shocked faces and chuckled.
What? You guys look like you've seen a ghost.
Ron and Mary tried to explain what had happened, but words failed them. Jazz just shrugged it off, attributing their wild story to too much eggnog. He hugged them both, wishing them a Merry Christmas. As they all sat down to a belated Christmas dinner, a sense of unease lingered in the air. The video on the flash drive was gone, vanished without a trace. Had it all been a collective hallucination, a shared nightmare? Ron glanced at Jazz, who was happily devouring a plate of gingerbread men. He looked perfectly normal, their sweet, goofy son. But a sliver of doubt remained, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. Ron took a deep breath. Maybe some things were best left unexplained. Or maybe, just maybe, the game wasn't over yet.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas indeed.